I noticed it as well with the whiskey one. And I'm like, is this a new song?
pissed.
But they recorded it like
I feel like flogging me. Like, bro, like this, because I love whiskey. I'm like, no.
I know.
Wow.
Hello. Welcome to episode 34 of the Think Talk podcast. And today we have a lot of exciting things to discuss. I'm super psyched, Ibra. I'm super excited, and I want to get into it right away if you are ready to as well. How you doing?
I'm all right, man. I'm all right. Let's go.
All right, cool. Let's go. So today we have a few, just two sections today, yeah? Just two. Section number one is going to be super exciting because last week we discussed some of the typical Nigerian stereotypes and our perception or perspective or opinion on these stereotypes. And today we're going to continue on this trend, but instead of Nigerian stereotypes, we are going to be making comments about, our perception, our opinion on the typical African American stereotypes. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Good to go.
So, stereotypes, typical African American stereotypes. What are your thoughts? The angry black person. This suggests that black people, especially black women, are irrationally angry, aggressive, or confrontational. What do you think?
Yes, I think it's very true. I've experienced it a few times myself. I feel like the crazy part of this is every time that I try to bring it up, like mostly with maybe someone that I'm dating, right? It's like, oh, we just go back and forth on. Usually we end up getting there, like with most, with a few of the African American women that I've dealt with, talking about like how we see each other or the sort of this subtle passive war that is going on between these two communities, right? And the very moment you are trying to say like, oh, this is what I've experienced, I know this has been something that people believe that is there, but I don't base my judgment on what is the mainstream idea or what is going on, right? So I try to make all my decisions or my conclusions on my experiences, right? And they jump immediately into that very mode that they are trying to debunk. So it's like this vicious cycle, right? Like you are trying to say like, I've dealt with like a few people and I feel like, it's really there. And the moment that you say, you've experienced it, they just go off. I've never said like, it's because of what I've said, what I've heard, or like what I think is there or whatever. But it's like, I have experienced it. And they just go off. And that for me is really always interesting because it's like, this is it, right? This is it. This is the time where you can convince me otherwise. And that's the very moment you are really still extending that. And I get
irrationally being too aggressive.
Yeah, I feel like it's challenging to have that kind of image, and I think it might do that to anyone to just be like, I'm just gonna be that,
Yeah, I think this is the issue with stereotypes, right? Because if you already have that label, and now you're like, there's nothing that I do, you will still have this idea of me. Sometimes they then feel like, fuck it. If you say that's what I am, then that's what I am. And I think this is the area where even though stereotypes are information that might be based off some sort of majority or some sort of experience, it's important to always give each individual the benefit of the doubt, which I think is what you are doing by actually having that conversation openly with these people. So they have the benefit of the doubt, but they probably don't see it as that, because again, irrational aggressiveness. Unfortunately, personally, I've not had a lot of encounters with African Americans in the US, so I can't really say. However, I don't know if it's exactly angry black woman stereotype, but I find it somehow funny when I see sometimes how black women like to be victims in many scenarios, like African American women. For example, when you see a black man in the US with a white person, right? With a white woman. And then something goes wrong. Instead of focusing on what exactly went wrong, black women immediately personalize it and turn it into that's what you get for dealing with women from another race or something like this. And I don't know if it's the angry black woman trope, but I think it's some sort of residual victimhood that brings in another personality that lacks rationality. I don't know if this explanation makes sense. Right, and I see it a lot, and for me it feels like, nah, try to be rational, try to be logical, try to relax, don't make everything about you, don't take it too personal yet, you know. This is something happening to someone else. If you want to make commentary about that, then try to be logical. But you see that all that is thrown out the window when they actually make their comments, and I'm like, I don't know what to say because I haven't had the experience. But if you're saying it, I know that you tend to be you tend to take your time to understand this thing. So if you're saying it, I would definitely have it at the back of my mind when I start to engage. Not that everyone won't have a benefit of the doubt, but I will have it at the back of my mind. The second stereotype, the criminal stereotype. So the first one was about black women. With this second one, it's more common that black men are portrayed as inherently dangerous or prone to illegal behavior. Sometimes women, but mostly black men. What are your thoughts?
Yes and no, right? I feel like, for sure, there's this there's this idea that is true, but I feel like this goes back to like the similar discussion we had on previous episode about racism and some of the motivations behind what actually is racism or why people can be racist, right? I feel like this is definitely a situation of classism and not entirely racism, because like black people in the US are not like the majority of the world older, right? So it makes sense that when you say like someone who would commit a crime is someone who doesn't have enough financial resources, right? So I see where that is coming from. But if the situation was to be flipped or is to be flipped, right, I think white people would also do as much crime. So this is not about race, it's about the sort of structure America has created for black people here to be in a sort of situation where they commit this sort of crime. Because what you won't see is like violent gun shooters, and I think this is the first time, I think last week was the first time that I actually saw like a black person involved in a massive school shooting, and that was really strange because
something is changing, right?
It will mostly be like a typical like white boy that is also there. So I don't think it's about race, but sort of pinpoints of people and the need to address them, if that makes sense.
I see what you're saying, but I think that for sure it's not about the race. I mean, the same thing with the black women thing. I think it's not about the race. I think it's just quite difficult anyways to engage in the type of system that America has in place that is so racially divided in a way that then you really, like for a white person, all you have to be is yourself. For a black person, you need to think much more strategically to blend into the kind of system that they have in the US. Yeah. And I think that's what you're saying, right? Again, I've not engaged directly with African Americans. However, when you look at the culture from hip hop and stuff like that, you would almost assume that there's much more crime happening in the black community, right? Because of the fact that crime is what is marketed in entertainment, in everything black culture. The crime is so much on the forefront. It's gang fights, it's what are the other things? It's different stories of people, like even the big names that became super successful. They will like tell
no
you,
snitching.
Jay will tell exactly. No, exactly. You know, the anti-authority thing. Jay will tell you, I used to sell drugs or something. Snoop will tell you how he had guns. Lil Wayne, you know. It's the fact that it's so much on the forefront of what people see in the media about black people. So that stereotype only gets reinforced by those kind of engagement with the external or with other races or with the external world. However, the caveat where I say, well, it's really the system is African Americans outside the US, how often do you hear that they commit a crime outside the US? They might not travel as much, but the few that actually travel, do you see how decent they are? In Stuttgart, we had a lot of African Americans that are with the military or something, and they party
Yeah.
in Stuttgart. And
Yeah.
like, I've never for once felt off. If we go to Kala, for example, that shisha bar, and you see a lot of them there, I've never for once felt like, nah, these guys, I don't, you know what I mean? They
Yeah.
always seem reasonable, calm, just doing their thing, no stress. And I follow some of them on TikTok all over Germany. How often do you hear an African American committing a crime or doing some random shit?
I'm not sure how true this is, but I was having this conversation with a few African Americans, and it seems that there is this sort of selection in people you would meet outside of the US. So actually, I mean, they were telling me how some sort of punishment for some crimes could also be that you won't be able to leave the country. So like, and I think this is mostly for this sort of punishment goes to a lot of African American that I think some of these jail
Never heard
things,
that.
when you go to like the jails or prisons or whatever, you have these sort of warnings or whatever that they actually do get your pass. Most of them don't have passports anyways, but it's also part of the punishment that you might not be able to leave the country anymore. I'm not sure how true this was, but they say like it's a fact.
Given that there are so many black people in American prison, whether proportionately or disproportionately, then they might have this hindrance that we don't know. So the probability that you actually see the ones with propensity to commit crime outside is much, much, much lower than even for a white American, because the white American gets away with a lot. Yeah, and this is just the honest truth. And it's not about whether they shouldn't get away with it. It's that maybe some of the things that a white American would get away with, it's fine to get away with if you're just being human. But the fact that a black American won't get away with those things, there is a slight issue there, right?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Let's say a white American will get away with the pat on the head like, come on, don't smoke weed in public or whatever. I think a black American should get away with it as well. It's just smoking weed. It's legal in many countries already.
Bro, I've seen ridiculous ones. Yeah, for like speeding tickets or like just for over speeding like 5 miles or 30 miles. Like, I mean, you know, these cam videos and you see ridiculous like sort of outcomes when it comes to like an African American. And that will get you pissed. That will get you really, angry like with the system or like with the cops, like this relationship they have, you know. Yeah.
Exactly. Maybe this is where the anger of the black women are coming from as well. That it's not, they're angry at everyone, but it's really that they're angry at the system and they take it out on everyone. Right? That like even though they take it out on the black man, it's because they are angry that the black man is not being more careful with the system that is already unfair to them. They're like, maybe this is what's happening with the black celebrities, that something happens to, and because they are with white women, black women are like, you were
not
with
my
a white
business.
woman. Yeah. And it could be that annoyance is coming from, dude, you know that it's super risky. You know that you run that risk. I'm angry at you for not de-risking yourself as much. You don't have to be with me, but like we see it. Or it could just be the selfish bit of interpreting it as them not being preferred or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's everything. It's everything. At the end of the day, like, I feel like it's more like you are angry, like you are pissed about everything, and you want someone to be on your side, but unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be the case. But the only way I feel like you can have some people at least on your side is to sort of have something that is worth fighting for. Something, and honestly, it's sometimes not there. Most times it's not there, and you just have to be like, you know what, there's nothing to work with, and they become more aggressive and angry, and you just be like, okay, so
that was a good one. The next one, the athletic but not intelligent stereotype, implying that black people are naturally athletic but lack intellectual capability or academic excellence. What are your thoughts?
That's not true. For sure not true. I think it's definitely media propaganda, some systemic racism bullshit that has been going on for a while. Actually, I was watching an episode on Obi Pod, like Mikel Obi, he brought Yaya
Mm-hmm.
Toure, and this was exactly, I'm not sure if you saw it, like this was the conversation they were talking about, like his whole entire like EPL run. Like, bro, we are talking about this a while back. Yaya Toure is a beast, he's a monster. And it was peace because his legacy was reduced to his physicality. Yeah, it was physical, but it was technical as fuck. Like, yeah, Toure was everything,
Yeah.
everything.
I mean, I already told you before that I wouldn't call five midfielders in the entire world of football, in the last generation of footballers and this generation, and not put Yaya Toure. At least that's for
Yeah.
me, because I saw that guy play. I saw
Bro,
the Iniestas, I saw the Xavis, I saw the Pelos, I saw Zidane, and I'm telling you, Yaya Toure will be in my top 5. That guy was a
for sure,
monster.
for sure. Man
That guy
City,
was a monster.
it was talking about how the whole team was to be built around him. Like, you actually wanted to go to Chelsea, and Mikel also was like calling him and trying to make everything sort of work. But then the difference for him was that they wanted to build around him. So now the media now saying, oh, he's like physical, he's like, and it's still happening with a lot of like black footballers in EPL right now. And I feel like this is just some media bullshit to make it seem like, oh, this is what they can offer. We've seen black people excel at like a lot of other intellectual aspects in life.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. It's absolutely not true. Like, even in the US, when you watch American footballers, when you watch basketballers, when you watch an interview, I watch Kevin Durant, I watch Shaquille O'Neal, I watch Kobe Bryant, LeBron, Michael and stuff. You can tell that these people are not just playing football and dumbasses just doing stuff. People might they might make mistakes and all this stuff, but almost every single one of them are super smart to even get to that point. And then they make movies as if you have to choose one or the other. But I think most of the guys that actually are successful in those leagues, basketballs, NFL, basketballers, footballers, American football now, and soccer players in
Yeah.
the US, they are all quite smart enough to get there. And I think there's also another thing where here it says intellectual capability or academic excellence, but I think intellectual capability and academic excellence has to be separated. Academic excellence is something, but intellectual capability, I think that's another story entirely. So there might be facts coming out saying, oh, how many black people actually get perfect SAT scores? And even though in history there have been many, there have been many
Yeah.
with top academics, academic excellence, inventions, and all that stuff. Even people that invented things against all odds, like the guy that's not a doctor that ended up doing a particular surgical procedure. There was a movie about him. I forgot his name now. There have been many, but even minus that, the ones that didn't go to school at all, there's so much wisdom in the black community. Like, the things that the black community overcame over such a long period of time required a lot of wisdom to even get to where they are today. I would even say it's unfortunate that there have been more and more smart ones than now. Do you know what I mean? Like, the
Yeah.
history is filled with super smart and intellectually exceptional, not just capable, intellectually exceptional black people. I feel like this, our generation, we still have a lot of work to do.
And I know why that is happening. Yeah, I feel like for sure everything the point you made about like in the past that we've had people, and I think the problem is that somehow black people have allowed other people, white and like mostly white people, to write our history for us. I feel like we don't really care about that, and white people care about that. They want the narrative to be told the way they want it to be told, like the Benin Kingdom, the Egypt pyramid, all these sort of things. They have a way of making sure they are the ones telling the story. White, yeah, I don't want to generalize now. Like someone outside of African race will come to Nigeria to sort of write the book about what happened in where we are from. In our schools, we are being taught about Lord Lugard and all these things, little about like the slavery. And I mean, I'm talking about my high school and secondary school days, right?
Yeah.
So we just
Yeah.
sort of move forward. But I think the white people understand that you have to curate the books. Like the history has to be told in a way where it favors their race. And you could argue the same for black. Like we have to start caring about the past
The
and
history.
how it's being told, the history, and how we are moving it forward.
That was an interesting one. The next one the welfare queen. Now, this more targets the black women. It targets them as lazy and exploiting the social system. Basically, that instead of them working, they want to get food stamps and stuff like that. Is this true or not?
Yeah, I think for the most part it is true. But what I've seen is that I see that shifting a lot, and I don't think the shift is also good. What I see now is that I see a lot of African American women now really focusing on education and trying to get a lot of yeah, like degrees, going into corporate and making a lot of money, and it's really happening. But then a lot of these women are also like this the extreme toxic feminists, if I may, and they are like the ones pushing this, oh, now I can do things for myself, I don't need a man anymore. And whereas you really don't see that, like with white Americans, for example, women, they still want to have family. The goal or the idea of them having education or getting resources is not because they want to say you to their white men. So yeah, I mean, for the most part, I've seen a few. It's a thing here where some women just try to get like a lot of things from the government, and there have been a lot of programs to sort of support that. And I don't think that's good. Feel like for sure if they take off or if they remove all these sort of benefit that comes with having, like, being in a this equity program, so to speak, I think, yeah, I would argue that people would do better for themselves.
So for me, I'm actually on the other side of it, not because I've experienced it directly, but because I've seen data showing that government benefit is actually quite diverse across races. So a lot of white people also, like, it's not predominantly black women taking government benefits. They do, right? But I think it's not enough to have the stereotype single them out. When you look at what they call areas where you have a lot of people that they call white trash, basically poor white people, they rely a lot on government support as well. So black women cannot be singled out that way just because of the data, right? But this is not to say that too many people are not reliant on government support in the US. I think it's just a factor of the failure of the American society at the moment. But then on the other hand, that when a black woman now works hard and becomes successful and all that, toxic feminism is definitely a big issue. I agree with you on that one. And I don't know why it's a big issue per se. I think one, it might be the character of the black people changing, or two, it might just be that they become more like their white counterparts, that maybe it's not that the white women are better, but culturally, the white culture allows the white man to still be able to manage that, as opposed to the black culture that has a different dynamics between wife and husband, or man and woman.
I feel like the case is mostly, it could be a lot of things, but I feel like the closest to that would be that data already shows that more and more women are getting more are having more resources, like recently, right? So the more the higher they go resources wise, the fewer the men. And with a white woman, she'll still have a lot of men to work with. But with the black woman, then she's having fewer and fewer men to work with, and that is the problem. So you are really shrinking your sample size, and it feels like the fewer guys that are around, maybe they are not even interested. I mean, yeah, we've talked about this before, right?
Yeah. Maybe that's why, if you, maybe the recommendation, or at least the saying would then be that if you continue to move up the way you are, you will have to open up your dating pool to other races as well, because it's actually a genuine problem. I've told a friend recently that, look, if you are really serious about wanting a partner, you might not be able to still demand for, I only want a black man from X and X country, right? You might have to open up yourself to also accepting that you might end up with a white man or someone from another country. But it's very difficult, very difficult. Our black women love us so much because black men are the price. The next one, the absent black father, right? The stereotype that black men abandon their children.
I mean, I feel like it is true, but it is really sad why it's true, because I feel like for me, I still see a lot of systemic design, systemic racism, or systemic curation of things for this to be in that way that it has been. From my experience, I feel like most men still want to be good, still want to be fathers in their homes, and still, but somehow, not every woman, but a lot of women have weaponized this, and a lot of men are just like, they're like, it's easier when you have resources, like if you're like an NBA star or whatever, and you have this woman that is sort of like frustrating you. I'm not saying like every woman is, but a lot of them are. And you can still be like, you know what, yeah, let's go our separate ways. You can get half and stuff. But for a broke person, I think it's easier to abscond or to just, yeah, run away to, yeah, than because you don't have any way to deal with the problem. So to running away could fix that potentially. And yeah, but I don't think it's by intention that they want to be that. I feel like these are just men that used to care a lot before that just don't give a fuck anymore for some reason.
I'm with you on this one. I hear you. I understand you. That's what I mean by that. But I disagree. I would say, yeah, the absent fathers are doing it intentionally as well. There might be reasons, yeah. There might be
Yeah,
circumstances, but when they decide to leave their kids, it's intentional and it's their fault.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
So I'm not going to. I, I would say, yeah, it's f***ed up. I was having a conversation with Sam yesterday as well about the Shannon Sharp situation, right? And Sam's position was fuck Shannon Sharp, right? And his reasoning is he knows that it's too much risk, and he will still
Yeah,
go around running around with super young OnlyFans girls because
yeah,
of the risk. And I was defending Shannon Sharp that, look, that's society's opinion on who you should be able to mess around with. As long as it's not illegal, you can do whatever the fuck you want. What's important is that when he then engages with a woman, if the woman tries to be slick and become a criminal and lie against him to get money from him, the law should take its course. We shouldn't overlook that a woman can be evil. Shannon Sharp, if he did not do anything illegal, and he slept with a 21-year-old girl because he's 50. If that's what he likes, that's what he likes. It's what it is.
yeah.
A lot of people have made the argument of he should settle down. The risk is less. I'm like, huh? Settle down and then get divorced after 2 months, so he splits half his wealth. How is the risk
Like,
less than this? You know, there's no solution per se. And the reason I talk about this Shannon Sharp situation is I want to bring it back to this absconding father thing, that it's not all the fault of the man. Sometimes a man actually even tells a woman, I'm not looking for kids now, right? But this woman ends up still, whether it's keeping the pregnancy or even working hard to get pregnant against the wish of the man. You can argue, why did he still have sex with her? Why did it? Sometimes they can even lie. Don't worry, I'm on pills. Don't worry, I'll take care of it afterwards. And they don't, for one reason or
yeah,
the other. And now the
yeah,
man believes that, well, the only way out is, I already told you I don't want kids. If you do this, you're alone, right? And in that kind of scenario, who is at fault, right?
yeah,
And I think
exactly.
these are the multiple dynamics that are in play. It's both the fault of the parent, depending on the situation. Sometimes it's just the man trying to be a deadbeat, and it's such a big issue in the black community. I think this stereotype is actually true because even though I haven't had people directly experience that, I've seen it a lot on the internet where it's been promoted to try to be there for their kids. It's like celebrated if a father is actually there and doing stuff with the kid because it's unusual. That's why it's celebrated. A lot of black fathers are absent, and that's an issue. Yeah, it's one of the things, one of the biggest culture shock that I experienced when you moved to the US as well. And every single woman
Bro.
you talk to, you
Hmm.
literally, I remember what you told me. You told me, Malik, if I meet a woman and I don't tell you that she doesn't have kids, just assume she has kids.
Yeah.
Just assume. And I remember you even told me about one lady and you're like, she's 24 or 23. And I'm like, okay, that one for sure doesn't have. And you told me she has like two or
Oh,
three.
yeah, yeah, yeah. In my head, I remember the conversation. I was already assuming that you know, but then, yeah, I didn't. communicate it like
She's
verbally.
23 or
Then
24. How
yeah,
does she have
yeah,
two?
bro. 4 out of 5 women on Facebook dating, 4 out of 5 black, yeah, would have a child.
And
But
then this
yeah,
leads to the absent father thing, because some of them, they have these kids from multiple dads. We have a child. I'm working towards it. You jump on another guy because you don't, and that's the question of, I actually watched it on one of these dating shows where the
yeah,
guy asks, "You have kids? How many dad?" And she said maybe 5 dads, 7 kids or something. And the guy goes, "You didn't marry the first one. You jumped on the second one,
exactly,
kids again. You didn't
exactly.
date, you didn't marry. What now? You have 5 kids, 5 baby daddies, 7 kids. How is it that 1 or 2 or 3 of them will not be too tired of the whole shenanigans and just be like, let the other fathers deal with all of them? I don't, at some point, some of them will just
Yeah,
check out as well. And I think this is an issue within the community. I mean, everyone can do what they want to do. This is still the problem with stereotype, but
yeah.
it's a community issue, and this kind of stereotypes are not good. But honestly, from my perspective, I might be wrong. This one seems true.
For sure. It is. I mean, it's not like it seems true. I think anyone saying otherwise would definitely be lying. And I just wanted to ask you, like, why would you then think that it's not, no, I'm not trying to support, like, is that as abscondance? No, what do you call it? Like, like fathers that are not responsible, that are not like in their child's life. And like, my point is, if you're having a woman having kids with 5 kids with 3, 4 different men,
Yeah.
and you're always telling the world that is the man's problem. They are both like responsible for making a baby, right? But as a woman, you are the one bearing, feeling the heat the most. So how do you allow that? And one answer to that is like, in Europe, for example, it's so strongly wired in most women's head. They are responsible for their body in the right way. In America, they will let you know, like, this feminist movement is like, oh, my body, my choice. But then to have multiple whatever, for that's what it means to a lot of African Americans. In Europe, women take responsibility of what happens in their body the right way. So that question of how, like, yeah, like, how would you even allow me to have sex with you without protection? With most European women, it's not even happening, especially if it's like a fling thing, for
Yeah.
several reasons, right? So like, yeah, so how do you then answer that with multiple men, multiple kids?
And that's why I said both parents are to blame, in depending on the circumstance. All right. So there's some circumstances that, of course, the woman is being irresponsible. There's another circumstance that is the man being irresponsible. But what the woman is being irresponsible for is having all those kids with different men, blah blah blah, and all that. But here we're talking about absentee father. I think it's still
Yeah,
the choice of the man. Right? Even when a woman is the nastiest one, you don't have to take that out on the child that has been born. Right? And you are not an absent father if it's the child that has been an asshole to you. Let me put it this
even
way.
if you're not ready.
So now the when you're not ready thing is already quite complicated.
That
And
happens a
that
lot.
one, yeah, that one I don't know, because I still say that the guy still has a little bit of blame to take, right?
For
A
sure.
little bit of blame, yeah,
Yeah.
and to keep it at that. But look at 50 Cent and his son Marcus. Is 50 Cent an absent dad or not? Do you know what I mean? And this is the thing, like, there's a way you can be there, even if there's no relationship because of one reason or the other. There's still a way that you can be there. What is it really terrible is this complete disappearance. Like, if I'm not ready, I might be a father. I don't have the time. I can't play football with you. I don't have the money for that. Da, 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 da. It's different from, bruh. But men are disappearing, man. Like, men are going away.
See, I'll tell you for a fact, man. Like, to anyone listening, maybe potential wife or something. Like, see, if we sort of mess around and we both made the decision to have unprotected sex, and you allow that, and I participated in that, and I tell you that I'm not ready for any sort of child, and you eventually bring the child to the world, man. I tell you, man, I'm.
What if she tries to abort and it doesn't work?
I mean, I would also give myself some credit that I know for sure if I'm not ready to have a child with a woman, I'm very, very careful.
You see the point
Yeah.
now? And but you we not ready. You're not ready. And you're
Yeah.
like, I finishing. We
But it takes
Dude,
two to play the game, man, you know?
it,
But yeah,
it takes
everyone should.
two. But then you might then run into the situation where she goes to the clinic, she wants to abort. The doctor tells her, if you do this, this is your last chance. You will never have kids again.
That is different. That is, you're playing, yeah, that,
In that scenario, you think it doesn't make sense to run, right?
yeah. But I'm just saying, my point was to bring out the fact that if against my will, that somehow we both participated in something as adult and we messed up because we were supposed to know better, right? And you
Mhm.
forcefully forced my hand to be like, you know what? I'm ready. You are not ready. It doesn't matter to me. I'm just gonna, yeah, there is a baby coming, and yeah, that's what we have to deal with. Bro, I'm packing my I'm going to, I'm going, I'm leaving the
Going
country, man.
now.
Because it's
Yeah,
a lot.
yeah.
It's a lot. If
Yeah,
there's one
I
thing
mean,
I'm
it's not
terrified
easy.
of,
It's
it's
not
like
easy.
bringing the child to this world. It's a
It's not
lot of
easy.
work.
I think both things are difficult. It's difficult to be absent, and it's difficult to be present when you're not ready.
That's why I said I might surprise myself.
The next one, the thug image. And this is what you see. We've talked about it a little bit here, that as you see it in media, in fashion, when you watch movies, paintings, there's this menacing gang culture that they try to paint black people as. What do you think?
I think right now, yeah, it is true. But over the course of the years, right, like in the past, we've seen a lot of gangs from other races, white, Italian, or the like white Americans,
And
and
they
like
still
with
exist.
other. Yeah, exactly. But like right now, I feel like the focus is really on I don't know. Yeah, I think maybe is a marker of like the participation or how active they are. Because yeah, you said like they still do exist, but maybe this is just another media propaganda. I don't know. But I feel like for sure, like for example, the YN situation, like these young as they are like really acting out.
That's a
They are like
big issue.
they are
That's
not
a
fully
big
even
issue.
grown yet. And they are
Yeah.
really going into all this sort of violence, and I wouldn't say it's a stereotype. I think it is true, to be honest. I'm not now sure if all other races also still have this sort of problem, because it is a
Extreme.
big problem. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. And this one, even though I haven't experienced personally, I've had almost everyone that I know in the US. I've had one situation or the other. Oh, I'm coming out of the mall, the YNs ran into me. It's just, it's too common that I would lean towards agreeing with you on this one. And it's a big issue. How this can be fixed, I don't know. Because I remember speaking to a friend about the YNs, and I'm like, oh, but they are young boys. Why can't you talk to them and be like, guys, come on, like let's go grab something to eat. Let's talk. What are you up to? It's like, bro, these guys will slap you. Like, what are you talking? And I'm like,
Yeah.
these guys, they are so lackadaisical to the life of a human being that that erratic or that irrationality that they have it makes it difficult to even understand how to approach them. It's like I don't know if you watched the video of one that was being sentenced in court and was staring at his lawyer in a very terrible way. I
I
don't know if
saw
you ever
that.
saw that video.
That was even that look should give him like 100 years in prison, because that's terrifying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the boy wasn't sad. And when you see the things that they were sentencing him for as well, it's the killing of that, the this of that. And I was looking at who's small boy. And you can see that he doesn't care that he has done all those bad. He thought his lawyer could be a magician or something. The lack of wisdom, the lack of knowledge of this boy, it's so apparent, right? And
Yeah.
this is what you have to do with. I don't know how to fix that. They probably learned from their elders as well, and that's why you see it in hip hop. The uh, Young Thug
Exactly.
was in prison for so it was just Young Thug in court. Even ASAP Rocky, ASAP, like almost every black celebrity. I mean, we've been talking Ghana, da, da, da.
Yeah.
They all have
Yeah.
all these issues. They have all these stories, and yeah, at least for the representation, it's true.
Yeah. I feel like two things, if in my opinion, are the reasons why this is definitely happening. You mentioned one is the media, like the entertainment culture, like the music thing. Like I think these young, for example, they are really consuming some content that they are not mentally mature to be listening to. Like back in the days when like them Snoop Dogs and all these guys, like they are really doing gangster music and all. Mostly it's being listened to by adults and young adults, not kids, right? But we have the internet now, and I feel like these
Mm.
boys can consume things that they are not supposed to be
Yeah,
consuming.
P just
And
P.
looking at these men, and they are like really successful people in the society right now, like the Jay-Z you talked about, how they were talking about how they used to be this and that. 50 Cent is open about his past, selling drugs and like being a gangster, an active one, probably even killing people, So I think they got the message at the time they are not supposed to be consuming the message. That's a problem. And two, the second problem is I feel like most of this, I mean, data has shown that most of these kids are also coming from a single household home, and it's mostly boys that are
Single
raised
mother.
in a single mother home. So if you sort of control these two things, like control what kind of music are being pushed out, and for me, I still believe it's a systemic thing that, yeah, will feed you people this sort of thing. Because why do we have these kind of guys like that are representing the culture
Of the
and
black
this whole
culture.
idea of, yeah, dividing homes and making mothers raise kids, and it's a
Yeah.
lot of impact to have a
They
father
create
alone.
the system also created an incentive for those single mother homes, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because this, if you know that you won't be getting any sort of uh child support, or what do we call that stuff, and you will work a little bit harder on your relationships. People are working much less, and you're absolutely right. Parental guidance is a big issue nowadays. I remember when Eminem used to be extremely far, and I remember he made a song, I think in 2003 or something, where it was basically saying, I will say whatever I say on my music, it's your fault as a parent if your kids are listening to me. Something like this, you know? But now this is almost impossible. Once you have a device with them, they will get access
Yeah.
to this things.
Yeah.
Uh, the next one is the cool, hip, and streetwise persona. So this one is not in the negative sense. It's just this, black people are cool. They can dance. They are street smart. They have this hip, fashionable persona. Is this true or not?
I'm not sure I get a full picture of this. I'm trying to. Do you have like an example of someone who you would think, oh, fits this
Yeah,
criteria?
just
Like,
just just the idea of, you see a black person, you think, oh, it's cool. It will get girls. He will be able to dance.
oh, I think it is true. I think it is true. I think I've experienced that myself, even not as even being the African American, right? Like at my previous work in Germany, like the company, we had this event, and I was really good. Yeah, I was in a good mood, and I was really going for it. And that was the compliment that I got the most. Like, oh, I'm jealous. You people have reading. I mean, they didn't say black, like you just mentioned Africans. Like, oh, you people have reading. People are like, so it's coming from a place where they already have this, like,
Black
um,
American.
like this assumption that you must be if you're black, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think if I was on the dance floor and I was dancing terribly, people they would be more surprised than, like
Yeah.
anything that, oh, that's new. I expect, so I think it's definitely there that people
Yeah.
expect this sort of hip, cool thing. Yeah, from
Yeah.
African
And I
Americans as
and
well.
I agree with you, right? And I think that bit rubs off a little bit on Africans as well. And this is why you said that you even experienced it in
Yeah.
Germany as an African in Germany. And I think it brings me to being able to mention one of the very important reasons of having this conversation about Black and African American stereotypes. So even though we're Nigerians, right, this is an important conversation for us to talk about from our own perspectives, because you mentioned last week or 2 weeks ago that whether we like it or not, African Americans are still at the forefront of representation for Black people all over the world, right? Including for Africans, even though we are different, right? African Americans, some of them say, we are not Africans, and we understand they cannot connect to Africa the way we connect to Africa. They should be able to connect to America as much as they want, to the United States.
Yeah.
And for this reason, we are different, but the world just lump all us black people together as one, which is completely fine as well. But it also means that what they think is negative for you, to an extent, rubs off on us, and the things that are positive as well, to an extent, also rubs off on us. It's the way Nigeria as well is a huge representation for the whole of Africa, and everyone will say if Nigeria sits up, Africa starts to become better. I think the life of a black person all over the world starts to become better when African Americans also sit up. I think
Yeah,
it will be a big
for
game
sure.
changer. And I think this is the bit where, even though this stereotype is not necessarily a negative one, it rubs off that in some of the positive light of, you should be able to dance. You should have good fashion sense.
Bruce, I'm sorry to cut you short. You remember this comment? One of our friends dealing with a lady, and this lady literally told her, "But you're black. You should be able to have sex with." You forgot.
Wait. I can't remember. I can't remember.
Now,
You should be able to do what?
there was this high expectations of at least how it should look in terms of his size, in terms of, I mean, we should say so, and his performance. So it's like she was transferring this, or in my opinion, I
The
would say
next one.
on I
This is crazy because the next stereotype is the over sexualization of black
we
men
have that.
and
I
women.
didn't know it.
Yeah, because we are often hypersexualized in media, even black women as well. That's why these white men also have the fantasy of, a black woman, she will do this for me, she will, do this and this for me. And for black men as well, you're supposed to be able to last longer. You're supposed to have a big cock or
That is
whatever.
some pressure, bro. It's a lot of pressure, man. Boy, it is true. It is definitely true.
Yeah, that's what I want to say. Like, but is it wrong? Because I think we represent somehow. Like Africa. Like, I'm not saying me personally. I don't have any reason to talk about my sex life, but we're not doing bad. I think it's still very bad when we are just seeing as sex toys. But if there's any reason to compare races on this, we are still the most naturally connected to our sexuality. Let me put it this way.
Yeah, I used to think it was all like some con culture or whatever, but then I was actually arguing about this with a lady actually in Germany, right? And we pulled off the stats like, yeah, like naturally, like black men are endowed like in that, region. For me, I just thought if you are in the corn industry, it just makes sense that they bring the exaggerated side of anything, right? But I found out like, no, it's not exaggerated actually.
I would say the same. I went to boarding house, and we would all take showers in the same bathroom because instead of us to go in single files and stuff, we will wait until the dying minute so that everyone rushes into the bathroom at the same time. And I can tell you that. So for me, I would get good feedback, right? I would get good feedback from a lady or something. But I can tell you that I saw some monsters when I was in school. In fact, majority of the people that I schooled with were monsters down there. Bro, like if I use that as the sample size, Lord of mercy. Nah. I give it to
I feel like
nah.
no, I mean, now this is one side. The other side is I don't think it's entirely good. I feel like it's true of these as of any other stereotype, right? That it depends on who you are. It depends on how you want to take it. I've seen people that find that quite problematic. And I think it can be problematic sometimes when it depends on how it happens, but you can really feel really healed by it. I've been in some situations myself that I'm just like, man, you, man. Like, what? Like, yeah, it can really piss you off, It can. It's not entirely
if
good.
anyone engages me, in that over sexualized manner, I'm not with that person, right? Because this is not what I'm about, right?
Yeah.
In that sense, like I don't want a woman to come treat me like a piece of meat. And this sounds so weird when you say it, but it's the truth that if it's ever happened to you, you know that it doesn't feel good, no matter how sexual you are.
Yeah.
So it's true for any stereotype. The hip one, the one that we said before as well, you're supposed to, black people are cool and all that stuff. I think it's some sort of reductionism as well. We're not just cool, we're smart. We're not just cool, we are, so many other things. We're not just hip. Because there's this, the fun time. They throw you into the middle of the dance floor, like, yeah. And then when it comes to actually discussing science, they don't want to call your name to ask what your opinion is. Of course, this is not always the case, but some people have that kind of stuff like, we're discussing something else here. It's more logical stuff. When it's time to talk about DJs, we'll call you, right? And this is not acceptable. And it's the same for the sexualization bit. So even for the cool ones, or the ones that are supposed to be cool, quote unquote, I think again every individual should be approached with a clean slate and engage with the right mindset. Right? You cannot just take a stereotype, whether it's, and this is an important thing for other races or for everyone, not just other races. We would continue to talk about stereotypes. We would continue to talk about things that have been generalized, blah, blah, whether they are true for majority or not. It doesn't matter. Whether they are cool or not, it doesn't matter. Every single individual should be engaged with decency, understanding, and a clean slate. Even for the good, so quote unquote, the good stereotypes. Even for those ones. Because it might be pressure on someone else. It's like Asians are good at math. It's supposed to be a good thing. But what if I'm not good at math and I'm good at art instead? You know what I mean? What if that's the case?
Exactly. It's a lot of pressure for sure. It's a lot of pressure. It's like, what if I'm not like, I can't carry the weight of the whole race on my shoulders, right? Like, it's a lot of responsibility.
Exactly. Exactly. But yeah, we just covered 2 quick ones. And then the last one, all Black people are the same. And this has to do with background, culture, language, beliefs, and stuff like that. What do you think?
This is definitely not true. I mean, I think we discussed something similar last week when it comes to even Nigerians being the same, or I think it was about, us being the same or our language being the same. Like, even in Nigeria, we are not the same people. So how can every Black person from different backgrounds in the world be the same, right? Like, bro, I've engaged a lot of like African Americans, and we are not the same. We think differently, we see life differently, we have different backgrounds, so we can't be the same. And we are all products of our environment, right? So you see more of the environment dictates how a person is than any other thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to say that even within the US, an African American that has grown up in California, or the one that grew up in Texas or Detroit, or the one that grew up in a wealthy
sure.
family, or the one that grew up, people are just people differently influenced by their environment, as you said. And everyone is capable of every single thing every other person is capable of. If
Yeah.
you apply yourself one way or the other, for good or for bad. So I'm with you on this one, that this is definitely not. And that is the last stereotype for us today. We've had a very interesting conversation. I feel good about this one. Looking forward to the comments and feedback from other people. Of course, again, this is from our own perspective. If you wonder why we're talking about it, that's because we will be talking about many, many stereotypes solely from our perspective. We're not representing Black people or white people or whatever. It's just us talking about what we think. And we're not saying it's right or wrong or whatever. Just feel free to share your own thoughts and comments as well. Very happy to continue to further the discussions. And some of these discussions are obviously tough or difficult for other people to talk about. Let's do it. Let's do it. Everything should be on the table. We'll come with more and more as we go on as well. The next section is about album review. This is what we do. There are some artists that we really enjoy listening to, or that we think they're actually important for Afrobeat, African music, and when they release their albums or new songs, sometimes we also do album reviews. And for this episode, we'll be talking about our opinion, or we'll be sharing our opinion on the Davido's 5 album. So it's the 5th album of Davido, who is an Afrobeat legend already. He's an Afrobeat superstar from Nigeria. He just dropped his 5th studio album. It's called 5, and we will do this by talking about it a little bit, what we think. We'll rate the album, and then we'll also mention our top 3 favorite tracks from the album. Are we good to go, Ibra?
Yes, I am good to go. Good to go, good to go.
Then I'll let you go first. What are your thoughts on the 5 album?
I think it's a great album. I mean, I think we kind of discussed extensively also off the pod on the album. I feel like, this is the first time that I'm really feeling like the video has a proper album. I feel like this is a body of work, and I respect that. I see that a lot of work was put into the album, and if I'm to rate the album, I'll give it like 8.5 out of 10, 10 being the best, right? So I feel like, it's already good that when you listen to it on the first time, for the first time, it's decent, and which is decent for most artists. I would say that have been around for a while. Like, I don't think you would expect this, I don't know, magic from them if they have been around for like 10 years or more, you know. So it's just like, okay, this is good. And with a little bit of like marketing and, you know, stuff, you can expect the album to be good. I think this album would definitely be a success. And I think, yeah, I'm enjoying the song, all the songs on the album so far. It's a good album.
If you would rate your top 3 songs on the album, what would they be?
Number one for me, I think it's the number one in Nigeria also right now. It's with you, Omale. With Omale, I think that stood out because it's really unique. I instantly felt like, why would you put this as the last track of the album? But anyways, it was like the first listen that really hit differently. It's like, okay, I listened to the album one time and this just stood out. Yeah, I feel like, okay, maybe that's why they put it as the last single, because it will stick with you, right? The next one will be Tech featuring Becky G. Yeah, I think it was really cool. I for some reason I love Davido when he's not really overly empowering his vocal cords, right? When he's not really doing a lot. When he's calm, I feel like, and on Tech it's like easy, simple tech. And yeah, because when he does this whole overly, yeah, like using his like vocal cords, right? I feel like his voice becomes a little bit cracky, and that's like the whiskey sort of frog voice thing that they were going back and forth like over the years, right? So when it's calm, you can really get a very good Davido's vocals, right? So the third one, that would be Victoni's Holy Water. With
Only water.
those, like, that's one of Victoni's like melodies that I've like anywhere off on Davido's album. Like Victoni as an artist, right? I feel like that melody on the song is like, it's really, it's a breath of fresh air, I would say. Yeah. So that would be my top three. How about you?
Ah man, that's strong as hell, man. I mean, that's a very strong top 3. I would, if you would have one honorable mention, which one would it be?
Let me see. Oh, honorable mention is easy. That would be There Still. I will be there still. Like, bro, the beat was mental.
Yeah.
It is a proper party song.
Nah, that's a very strong list. What's interesting is that it's such a strong list. We have 2 songs out of the 4. So I have 3 and then the honorable mention.
Okay.
We have 2 songs out of the 4 that coincide. I honestly, for me as well, it was the first album where I felt like from the first listen, I was already satisfied. I thought, actually, this is an album. Again, I'm also on the same page with you that it's the first Davido album that actually felt like a body of work in the way that everything blended, right? It was such a well blended album, and nothing stood up too much. I can imagine if With You was in the middle, it might have stood up, and then you feel like you go this way. So let's say this is baseline. This album is going like this, and maybe at the end it just went up a little bit with You. For a lot of people, for me, I felt like it just went super balanced throughout. Yeah, but imagine some other albums, you would have this and then one very nice song, and then but this one was more it just felt like it was floating. Yeah. And for me, I would give him for being an album like that, my initial rating was 7, but I listened to it again more, and I'm rating it 8/10. I actually think it was a really good album for commercial success. I'm not even in doubt that it will be very successful. I expect it to be very, very successful. Of course, you already see a lot of the records that it's breaking in the UK, in this and that. It's going to be Davido's most successful album yet. I can bet anything on that. And for the top 3 songs with the honorable mention, I already told you before, for me, R&B with Shensia stood out the most. I don't know, I just really like the melody. I like reggae and blues. You know, like for me, that felt like, I really enjoyed R&B for sure. Then after R&B, I would then go for With You with Omale. Honestly, it wasn't my favorite. Only Water was above With You before. And then after listening a little bit more, I'm like, With You was such a fire song. Especially when I saw the lyrics of Omale's verse. You know, at first I couldn't hear what he was saying, but when I actually saw it, I'm like, nah, this is cool. This is too cool. You know, like, yeah, exactly.
I know.
It's so cool. So with you is definitely my number 2. My number 3 is Lately. Lately. I
Mm-hmm.
really enjoyed that song as well. And my honorable mention is Holy Water with Victory. Awuke, Fonz, BDS too. They are like fire, but I think I've listened to them already. I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, they're
like,
almost
that's out
8
of
months,
the
not 7 months.
exactly,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly. Like that's out of the question for me. So for me, it's definitely number 1 is R&B, number 2 is With You, number 3 is Lately, and honorable mention is Holy Water. But in general, I mean, from just our list now, you see that we can already call like 7 or 8 songs that are already quite good. Like, and there are many
Yeah,
more. Like, I don't have Tech on my list. I don't have BDS too. Awuke and Fonz were definitely very good songs. Fonz was a very good song, especially. And so, yeah, looking forward to how well this album will perform. David he already put out his tour dates. He's going to be doing the US, he's going to be doing UK
yeah,
and a few other countries. Very quickly, he's doubling down, man. Davido is such a hustler. Whiskey has not
yeah,
even started Mariah tour. And Davido is already like, give me the dates. And maybe this is the difference between them, right? Because I saw some of the arenas that David will use, right? There's some venues that has as little as 1,600 people capacity. I'm like, nah, Davido, man,
The-
no. 1,600. Bonner just did 100K. The maximum that Davido is doing is 68K in the UK. Then Bonner Boy just did 100 or 90 or
yeah.
so.
I think that's the difference. It might also be part of their strategy because if you think about because the album right now, they are pushing it a lot, and from this that you just said, you can already see that in like the marketing, right? Like they are going for any sort of PR from the smallest influence, not like the small, but like people like Bonner and Davido will not go for.
They did Daryl. You know Daryl, that guy that yeah, like I saw David.
Yeah, it was in his Tesla. They were cruising out like that. You would imagine that it wouldn't be doing that, right? So but
Yeah.
those guys are not small still. It's like the way people, but nah, that it doesn't equate. I wanted to say like the way even Vibes Cartel is on like Kaisena, but Kaisena is a different beast. But you can imagine. But it's the same. Like if they pile up like 20 of Daryl, right? They could maybe be guys. So they are taking everything that they can. And it might also be the reason why they are going for smaller event halls as to like um big arenas and stuff, you know. So at the end of the day, it's a numbers game. If you have to do more to get the same numbers as the video, as Whiskey and
Yeah.
Burna Boy, then go for it.
Then go for it. That's true. But yeah, it's really curious to see how it will turn out. Really curious to see how it will turn out.
So I have a question for you if you don't have any for me. Um
Yeah.
So I mean,
Go
we've
for
talked
it.
about mostly, yeah, from our review. I feel like we just said like the good things, right? So, what are the critiques like that you have? What are the things that could have been done better on this album, from your opinion?
So, from my opinion, I think it's one thing that we've already talked about before. There's one thing that stands out to me. I think it's a good thing that all the songs were balanced, but I
Oh,
think those songs could still be a bit more. So let's say baseline is 0 and every song is doing a 7. It would have been better if every song could do like 8.5. It's not because it's not a good album, it's just because Afrobeat competition has gone crazy lately. And for someone like Davido, it's even bigger because it's playing in the top of the top. And when you will see what I'm saying when I give an example now. So David is there, drops an album. There's Rema, there's Omale, there's Joe Boy, there's Whiskey, there's Burna Boy, there's Ashake. There's so much competition that you cannot afford to just be good. Like you have
yeah.
to almost go crazy. And that's what you see now that Zinoliski drops his own album and kicks everything of Davido's album off the list.
Really? That happened.
Go to top 100 on Apple Music or Spotify now.
Well, but Zeno is a very talented guy. If not for like
You
the
understand? That's the
Naira Marley thing
competition
that
now.
happened. Yeah,
That's the
yeah,
competition. I'm not saying Zeno is small. Zeno is smaller than Davido, but is such a good singer. But
yeah. He is.
that's how massive the competition is. It's not that so the number 1 song is still a Davido song. Even now above Arresta and Wizkid. So With You is still number 1. But then Davido have the top 17. Now it's like number 1, number 5, number 7 and
Then I
8,
have to
number
listen
10.
to this
Like
album because I knew he dropped an album. I'm just like, Zeno, I'll listen to it later. I mean, I know it will be good, but I didn't know it's that good that it's like dragging sports with
that
like.
is dragging. Do you understand? That's how crazy the competition is. And that's why I felt like there could have been a little bit more. And I think the reason there's not a little bit more is because they want to go for the international thing, right? And it's working. The streams, the numbers, the charts internationally, they're doing really well. The album is doing really well, the Davido's album. So I'm not going to blame them for using that strategy. But I think the reason the album felt so balanced without having just being good, without being exceptional, is because Davido did not do one thing that I really like him for. Davido has a lot of melodies that he plays with, and he tried to keep it very simple on this album. I still see it as a con.
Yeah.
Right? And we talked about it as well. You were the one that actually helped to put it in words. I was feeling that simplicity. I was feeling that there's something missing in what you would know Davido for. And I think you put it in the exact words of the melody, where just a basic melody probably allowed more people to be able to listen. But for me, it did not give me that full range that he has when it comes to melody. But that's a great question, by the way. A great question. What about you? What are the cons that you have?
Yeah, I mean, like, I definitely agree with most things that you said. Like, I mean, they are the same things that I had. Like, I feel like the melodies are quite basic, and somehow I still feel like on some of the songs he tried to go over like his vocal limits, and I don't think it's coming from him now. I think it's mostly maybe a production issue. I mean, we discussed this, right? I feel like it could really do a lot better working with maybe trying and experimenting with some different guys, like when it comes to mixing and mastering now. Like, I don't think it's particular to his voice. I think if they mix and maybe synthesize his voice, it could. And on Tech, I listen again. I think Tech would be an example where it didn't overdo it and the mix and master. I think also the one that you mentioned as your favorite with Chris Brown is that, what's the title again? I forgot. Like,
Titanium.
I think it did.
I actually didn't put Titanium. Titanium
Oh,
would have
that's
been
not
the fifth.
Yeah, that's not.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
Titanium
not
would have
actually-
been the fifth one for me. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that was an example of where he actually still did his thing with like going high and stuff, and it still came out well. So yeah, maybe he could work with like some different guys to give him some new sounds. And I think they are all struggling. I don't want to like digress, right? Like going into Ayasta featuring Whiskey. I was listening to it, it was all good and all. Then I listened to Whiskey. You know me, I'm a Whiskey fan, right? Like, and I'm like, nah. I was just pissed. I listened to
He did the
Whiskey's
same
part
thing,
and I'm
right?
like, what the is this, man? Yeah, it's like,
Why did he
give
do
us
the
something
same thing
different.
again?
I don't know. It felt like I was listening
Yeah.
to his own
Arya
last
Star,
album, man.
Arya Star was fire. The Arya Star was fire on that song, but
Yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
he did the same thing.
Whiskey brought it down. So I'm like, my point bringing that up is, I think we're underestimating how it's difficult for someone of these guys that have been around for so long, that have put out a lot of work. Now they have to compete with guys like Zenoliski and a lot of new guys. I'm not even mentioning
Malay
Mashaki and
and
like,
co.
a lot of a lot of new guys. Those are still fresh minds coming with fresh sounds. Now the extra layer to their own job is to reinvent themselves to now compete with guys that are fresh. So
Yeah.
that is difficult as well, and that's one of the struggles that I feel like Davido also had on the album. But yeah, I mean, aside that, I feel like every other thing is good. Like, it just needs to try different sounds, different producers, different like engineers.
Another
and stuff.
bit was definitely missing. I agree with you. I noticed it as well with the Whiskey one, and I'm like, is this a new
was
song?
pissed.
But they recorded it like
I
a
feel
year
like
ago.
flogging me. Like, bro, like this, because you know I love Whiskey. You know, I'm like, no,
I know.
no.
Yeah, for me, I had to do a second listen to be sure that I've heard Whiskey's verse. Like, I heard it the first time, and I'm like, nah, I have to pay attention. What did Whiskey do? And I'm like, Wheezy Baba.
I feel like they carried
But-
like a verse from his album and just pasted it on this song.
That's why I thought they did record it like 7 months ago or a year ago. That's why I thought. I was like, maybe this is not new, but Baba has been too busy for the video and they didn't want to release it without the video. All right. That's it. And episode 34 is a done deal. Closed. We really appreciate our listeners as always. We're on every platform: TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Thread, Instagram. Follow us everywhere, Spotify as well. I will look forward to your feedback, your comments, your reactions, your discussions. We'll be super, super excited to have you guys engaging. Cheers.
Ciao, ciao.